It's your girl McKenna here with my first video. This video will be just kind of a test of the channel to get everyone to follow. It'll be kind of boring, so if you don't want to listen to me just sit here and talk the whole time, don't watch it. So I had everyone send me in questions of the move, what's it like living in Japan, why did I come here, things like that. So I'm just gonna kind of read through them and answer them, and hopefully you enjoy. So probably the biggest question I got was, why did I move to Japan? And there is no other reason other than I wanted to. I'm not here to live my best weeb life. I'm not here to, marry and get a visa. I'm just here to study the language and be somewhere different and I guess experience my youth while I still have it, as cliche as that sounds. And that was pretty much my only driving factor to coming here. The next biggest question I got was the hardest or the scariest thing I have encountered. And probably the hardest thing is just the move itself. Trying to get a visa for another country is very difficult. I have nothing but respect for the people that move to other countries. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. It is January when I finally got here, and I applied for my visa and my school in June. So it took about 6 months for everything to go through, and there were a ton of barriers because of COVID. My flight got canceled last minute. My hotel quarantine got canceled last minute. I almost wasn't able to go to school here. So that was probably the hardest part of the whole thing, was just getting here. Once I landed, things were pretty smooth. I was also asked if there was anything embarrassing that had happened so far as the language barrier and things go. There's nothing embarrassing that's happened so far, thank goodness. I think most people here are really understanding that you're coming here to learn the language, and the word for student is gakusei, so I can just point to myself and be like, gakusei, gaijin, gomennasai, just like, I'm a foreigner, I'm a student, I'm sorry. And usually they get the idea that you can't speak, and they'll help you as best as they can. What made me think I'm not in America anymore was probably when I landed in the airport, and they were actually making people take COVID tests when you landed in the airport. Because as we all know, people are not taking COVID very seriously in the US. And as soon as I landed here, the whole airport was basically set up like an IKEA store with arrows on the ground, and you went from station to station, and they took your temperature, they gave you a COVID test, they put you in this big waiting room where everyone was spaced apart, they called your number up when your results were ready, and if you tested negative, then you got to go to your quarantine. If you tested positive, they sent you straight to a hospital. And it was the most efficient thing I had ever seen in my life. It was definitely an eye-opener to be like, oh, I'm not in America where people just don't care anymore. I was also asked what American customs are hard to give up. So what do we do in America that they don't do in Japan? And on the flip side of the coin with the airport is that people care here very much. There's a ton of paperwork, a ton of bureaucracy. You can't just get a yes or no question answered from a low-level employee. It's like, it has to go up the chain, and it can be very complicated, as opposed to in America, we're kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna make this executive decision, like yes, no, sure, why not? So that's gonna be pretty difficult to give up. Because as we all know, I'm not a very patient person. How are the people here, and do I feel like I stand out? The people here are amazing. Everyone is so kind. I haven't met a single person that has been rude to me or given me a weird stare, other than the fact that I tower over even some men here. They do tend to stare at me. Like if I stand up on the train and I'm about 5 inches taller than the person next to me, then they'll give me kind of a stare. That's the only time I really feel like I stand out. People are pretty polite. They don't just sit there and gawk at you because you're blonde or white or 6 feet tall. They might, you know, give you a look, but not a rude look, just like a, oh, whoa, there's no tourists here because of COVID, and but there's a person there that's not Japanese. So that's about as far as I feel like I stand out. Obviously, in that I can't speak Japanese, and I just smile and like nod when people talk to me. This was a weird question. Did I get any support from the Japanese government when moving? No. As far as that goes, there's no you don't get any like special treatment because you can't speak Japanese, or special treatment because you're from one country or another. Everything's pretty much the same. The only support that I would say that I received from the government is that when you go to, so when you move to a place, you have to go to your ward office, and your ward office is like your city hall, because Tokyo is massive, 37 million people, it's huge. So you go to your ward office, and they did have English support. So that was about the only government support I received, is that they would speak English with me as I went through everything. The government's pretty supportive of the people here as far as moving goes. Like each ward has a different trash system, so they'll give you a pamphlet of how to sort your trash, what days your trash days are, about as helpful as any other city will be when you move there. Let's see. Did I have living arrangements before moving? Yes. It would be very difficult to land here without a place to live, even with the 2-week quarantine, because when you do land, you have to go through customs and you have to go through immigration, and you have to put your address on the paperwork for you to get a residence card. And so when you land in the airport, they will give you a residence card, a temporary one. For if you're staying in an Airbnb or a hotel, you write down that address and they'll give you this temporary residence card. And then when you move into your permanent address, you go to your ward office, they'll change it, they'll give you a new residence card. So I did have my living arrangements set up. I went through this website called GoGo Nihon. They're amazing. Another website that is common for foreigners to use is called Gaijinpot. They set you up with a foreigner-based real estate company that can get you into an apartment, because it is very difficult for foreigners to rent apartments in Japan. I'm sure most of you have heard about that if you've ever looked into moving here. Most leases are 2 years long. They want you to have some sort of Japanese income, a Japanese phone number, all these things that obviously you will not have when you move here from another country right away. And a lot of the times, even if you have lived in Japan for a really long time, say you've lived here for 5 years, but you're still a foreigner, some companies still won't rent to you just because they think you're a flight risk, which is understandable. So about my apartment, I was asked, what my apartment is like. Do I have neighbors? What's my favorite thing about the apartment? My apartment is pretty standard layout for a Japanese apartment. Imagine a hotel room, like a business hotel room. It's probably smaller even than most hotel rooms in the US. It is 18 square meters, which is about 197 square feet. So basically the size of your bedroom at home. It has kitchen, bathroom, and a room. Basically, where your bed ends, your living room kind of begins. I don't have a closet, and no, I do not have a bidet in this apartment. I have a Western style toilet. The bathroom is a wet room though, so the whole bathroom is designed to get wet, and there's a drain on the actual floor of the bathroom, which is pretty neat. I did buy a shower curtain anyways because I do not have the patience to clean the entire bathroom every single time I shower. My favorite thing about the apartment would probably be that you can have a special key card to get into your door. So you don't have to unlock your door with a key. You can press a button and put the key card in, just kind of like a hotel, which is really neat. You don't really see that a lot in the US, at least not where I'm from. And I think there's 7 floors in this apartment, so it's fairly small. for the area that I'm in. And yeah, it's pretty standard. There is construction right outside my window every single morning, so that's great. But hopefully they'll be done in the summer with that. But it does wake me up every single morning. Okay. What must you bring? What did I bring? And packing advice for leaving the country. I basically brought the minimum amount of everything. If you know me, you know that I love clothes and I love shoes and I love bags and I love everything that goes on your body. So what I did is, your checked bags are usually about 50 pounds, and you can get 2 good sized vacuum seal bags full of clothes in there, and then layer some stuff on top, and you won't be overweight. So what I did is I vacuum sealed all my clothes. Right now it is winter. It does get very cold here. For those of you that did ask about weather, there's 4 seasons, but the winter is very cold, it is very rainy, and then the summer is very humid and hot and rainy. So I brought the bare minimum amount of winter and summer clothes. A little bit more winter. I brought my bigger coats, more sweatsuits, things like that, things that are easy to put on. Because your apartment is also usually pretty cold. Because it is so humid here, most apartments need ventilation. It is very easy for mold to grow into your apartment. And when you get the real estate agency, they will tell you, hey, if you see mold, let us know, scrub it off the wall, or else it'll like stick into your wallpaper and stick into the plastic of your bathroom. And Japanese mold is no joke. It is like mold on steroids. It'll happen very quickly in the summer months if there's no ventilation, because sometimes you do have to dry your clothes in your room. Dryers are not common here. That is probably another difficult thing that I encountered. You have a washer usually in your apartment, but no dryer. So you have to either dry your clothes outside because it's rainy. Like as of right now, it's about 45 degrees outside and it's going to be raining for the next 5 days. So if I want to do laundry, I either have to bring all my laundry through the rain to a coin laundry, which will defeat the purpose of drying it if everything's just going to get wet on the way back, or I can dry my clothes in my apartment with the heater on and a fan and the ventilation going so I don't get mold. Packing advice: don't bring as many sentimental things as you would usually want. Your parents can always send it to you, your friends can always send it to you. It is not as important as having underwear and shirts and things that you need every single day, a good pair of walking shoes. Like, don't give that kind of stuff up because you want to bring some stuff that's sentimental. If you do want to bring something that's sentimental, I suggest something flat. What I did is I collected all my graduation cards and my Christmas cards from just this past year. And I can put them up on my wall, and a lot of people sent me like really sweet notes, and it keeps me kind of close to home without having to bring something massive. I just shove them all in here. See, it's really easy to bring something like that if you want something to remind you of home. And then I also brought a blanket actually that my mom gave me for Christmas, because it is something that is a necessity and it's something that'll remind me of my mom. So a lot of people asked about communication and language. I'd already kind of talked about that. It is no joke. The Japanese people tend to be very shy about their language ability when it comes to English, and so they're just talk really quick Japanese to you. They see that you're a foreigner and they just still speak Japanese, and you're like, okay. And then you kind of are like, oh, wakarimasen, which is like, I don't know what you're saying, I don't understand. And then they'll still speak Japanese to you and start pointing. And then towards the end of the conversation, they just say something in English. And I'm like, so that's really interesting there. The speaking has become easier. I've only been in school for about 2 weeks now, so I can tell time, I can introduce myself, and I can say what I did for the day. That's about it. So it's not really helpful when ordering at restaurants or like going to a store or anything like that. So I haven't really adapted in that sense. There was a couple of questions about how well I've adapted. I would say maybe 4 out of 10. There's still a lot that I'm learning. The trash is really difficult. I have a list like this long of like how to separate your trash. You have to take the plastic bottle and take the the covering off of it and the lid and put that in a separate thing, and then the bottle in another thing, and if you have food waste, that goes in a different thing. And it's really crazy because they burn their trash here, so it's all different. Okay, have I made friends? I have, actually. So because I am in school, I have made some friends with other foreigners, but as far as Japanese friends go, I have not made many. I did download Tinder, but I wouldn't count that as friends. Most of them just want me to teach them English, so if you consider that friendship, sure, I have plenty of friends. So there's a bunch of other like random questions as well, like, what does it smell like here? What is my favorite shop so far? The smell one, it smells the same. It actually smells like really good food most of the time. If you've been to New York, the layout of Tokyo is kind of similar to New York, but without the trash smell. There's not like a sewer smell or a trash smell. It's very clean here, very similar to just any other city in the US. And my favorite shop, honestly, 7-Eleven. And I know that sounds silly, but I also got a question about what the convenience stores are like, and they are convenient. The food is great. You actually go to pay your bills at the convenience store. There's a couple of stores here. There's Lawson's, Family Mart, 7-Eleven. You get your water bill and your health insurance bills, things like that. You just take them down to the 7-Eleven and then you pay the cashier for your bill, and that's it. It's over. You would think it would be more convenient to pay online, but Japan's still a very cash-based system. So I don't know if they don't trust the online stuff, or if a lot of people just don't like stuff being taken directly out of their bank account and that's why they're still cash-based. I'm not sure. But it is pretty interesting that you could pay your bills at the convenient mart. So, I'll make this quick. I'm kind of rambling here. The last two questions: how does it feel to be so far from home? It feels weird. It doesn't feel like I live here. It still feels like it's kind of a vacation. But I don't feel far from home. I've been gone about 3 weeks now, and I haven't been homesick. I do miss my parents, obviously. They're the best people in the world, but it's been fine. I'm kind of glad that I'm away from the inauguration and the QAnon and the storming the Capitol and all of that stuff. It's nice to be away from it and being a third-party viewer for once, instead of having to just realize that that's the country that I live in, and that things are crazy and that I'm living through unprecedented times. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to be far away for once. And the last question is comfort for loneliness. This might be something that is super relatable to any of you that have moved away from home. There is no real comfort from being alone other than people, really. I do have one American friend that does live here. I've been friends with him since before I moved here, and he's probably one of my comforts when it comes to loneliness. He'll invite me over to his place. He'll make brownies. It'll kind of feel like I'm at home. He's from California, so we just, pretty similar. We just chat, and it doesn't feel like I'm 5,000 miles away, or however far Japan is from the US, because I didn't do the math. But yeah, so I am happy. For those of you that asked, I'm very happy. I'm not lonely. If any of you are worrying about me, I'm fine. It's great. The food is awesome. The internet speed isn't as fast as you think it would be. They make really good egg salad sandwiches at the 7-Eleven. And that's about it. So, sorry to ramble for 20 minutes, but thank you for tuning in, and I will have an apartment tour coming soon.